Good morning, Freedom Team. Hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful 4th of July weekend. As always, to kick off Monday, and we get to interview some attractors. And we've got not only a big attractor here, she is a huge producer. It seems like I say that every weekend, Kelly, right? That somebody comes on who's got a huge team, I think over 400. I'm getting ready to read, and she's rocking it in production. So let me give you Carrie's bio real quick. This is pretty extensive and amazing, Carrie. Keri is a global real estate leader and holistic. I may want to talk to you about this. Holistic business coach. For the past 3 years, Keri has built a national real estate organization of over 320 realtors in 29 states that sells thousands of homes annually. She is also the co-founder of The Cove, a real estate and entrepreneur co-working space in North Idaho. The space is an office to over 240 entrepreneurs and small business owners and has provided community events and opportunities to hundreds of people in North Idaho and the Spokane area. Previously, Keri built a national business and life coaching company, achieved Freedom Coaching, which helped over 500 real estate entrepreneurs during the onset of the pandemic and over the course of the next 2 years. Over the prior 20 years, Keri was a top producing real estate agent, the CEO of the number one real estate office in the state of Minnesota, and a director of expansion for a top three national real estate team. Keri has helped grow a few hundred real estate businesses and teams through her coaching and partnerships, and she has recruited over 1,000 people into the industry over the years. In 21 Business Insider feature, Keri is one of the most innovative business coaches in the country. As a transformed workaholic, she has committed to personal growth through business success over the past 8 years. Because of this, Keri is a passionate about serving her partners and entrepreneurs in all industries so they can also live fulfilled lives, build successful businesses, and grow multiple streams of income in a new way. So went from a workaholic to now starting to kind of buy your life and time back, right? Buy your time, money, and location freedom, right? It is amazing what RevShare can do for us. So good morning, Miss Keri. Thank you for
Good
coming on
morning.
here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I just realized, man, I probably have to update that. The revenue share has been amazing. I probably wrote that a year ago and we're already at almost 420. So definitely
Wow.
relational equity and it compounds over time. I'm sure you guys have heard that. And actually the last year, this probably for the last 4 months now, I've been back at it working again. But prior to that, for almost a year, I did not really work much. We had our youngest son get in a really bad car accident and we weren't even home for 6 months. So thank the Lord, He is with us and slowly but surely healing. But we did not do much work, and so it was a huge blessing to see everything continue to grow, but for us to be able to take that time off, both my husband and I, and not have to worry about a paycheck was truly a blessing. So if you had had me on this call over a year ago, I would have been passionate about revenue share, but today it's at a whole different level based on the fact that we really had to take advantage of that in a really difficult time in our family's life. And
Yeah.
our picture with our son and what we were able to do for him and with him during that time would have looked very, very different had we not had the revenue share income. So we're super grateful for it. We're grateful for the opportunity that EXP provides to us. And this was a very natural fit for me to move into this role of just really helping people to see the benefit of an agent owned company, to bring them into it, to coach them, and to help them take advantage of it as well, based on a lot of the things I'd been doing previously. The difference was I was working for other people and building their businesses prior, and moving over
Yeah.
to EXP, we were able to build our own business and our own retirement, which has been really fun and truly, a gift that I think a lot of people don't quite get what that means over a period of
Yeah.
time. This doesn't happen overnight. It's not a get rich quick scheme, but the consistency of actions and the consistency of income, and then the building of that over time through that relational equity really does happen. I did it faster than some, probably because of my background, Sean, but anybody can do it. I'm truly a believer of that. It may just take them longer, and that's
Yeah.
okay, because most of us on this call would say, in the next 10 years, we'll probably still be in real estate to some degree,
Right.
or at least 5 years. And so, I like to look at that from a much more a perspective of, look, we're going to be doing this anyway for the next 5 to 10 years. Why not put a little bit of effort into something that could grow alongside of your business? My husband does sell real estate full time. I actually support him in that now, just because we do have 420 agents and growing, and not all of our agents are local. We are in 40 states. So I spend a
Wow.
good majority of my time just focusing on this now because the company has given me the opportunity to do that, through the income. So revenue share does bring me my income at this time, and then he continues to sell. We did have $100 million team. I'll give team leaders an inspiration. We had a large team when we moved over to EXP. Within 2.5 years, our revenue share had surpassed the income that we were making in
Wow.
a $100 million team, because as we all know, the traditional teams are not as profitable as they seem to be, and sometimes the bigger they get, the less profitable they are. So we were able to sell that team off to two of our business partners who are still running it, giving them the opportunity to do that. But it was really time for us to move away from that. We'd been doing that for a long time, not getting any younger, and ready to be building something for our retirement, but also get some time back, as you mentioned, Sean, because everybody thinks that a traditional team is leverage. And I knew
Yeah.
that it wasn't a long time ago, building multiple teams across the country. It's leverage if you want to talk about not going and showing a house, or if you don't want all of the sales to be under you, but it's certainly not leverage when it comes to time, because typically you're taking on a second job. And my husband was in the office 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and on call constantly. And so
Mhm.
that wasn't necessarily time freedom. And so, although we were really grateful for the people we got to be in business with, the businesses that we got to build alongside them, the cool thing about EXP is we still get to do that with them. Even if we're not their team leader, we still get to do that because we are in business with them through the agent ownership and the revenue share model. And so that really has been the transition that we've taken over the last 4.5 years. And it's been a blessing to us, and hopefully, it's been a blessing to them too. So that's a
Yeah.
little bit of where I am now, just catching you up to speed. I'm very casual. Hopefully, if you guys have questions, I'd love to answer them. I certainly, Sean, I'm sure you have a few. I can at any point pivot on any topic. I'm pretty comfortable with this, but I kind of wanted to see also where people are in this particular room and what conversation you'd like to have. So you guys
Love it.
let me know, and I'm happy to answer and
I
chat.
love it. Well, first of all, great opening. You know what I want you to elaborate on? We don't do this very often, but I remember when I first started, I tried to spend time with agents doing this, forecasting the vision of what life could look like. Because you nailed it when you said, you're going to be in real estate anyway the next 10 years. And I like people to stop and think for a minute. If you don't do this, now everybody's different, maybe through your investments, rental property, maybe you've got a way to retire. Most agents I talk to, when they really get down to it, they'll say, I'll probably sell real estate to the day I die. Guys, it does not have to be like that. So let's take just a minute, because you and I talked briefly before you came on, and I know if it's an emotional subject, we don't have to go that route, but my son had a TBI.
Mhm.
Your son, the same thing. Yours was worse than mine. Yours went into a coma for 4 months. Did you?
Mhm.
Yeah. Because I say the same thing. We went for about 6 months without working. We were 8 days in ICU with my son, and then went like 6 months without working. Same kind of thing. Praise
Mhm.
God, didn't have to, because the rev share was coming in. Speak a
Mhm.
little bit more
My
about that,
phone
because
is so
you were
hard to
obviously doing very
find.
well, making great money running the team and all that, but had it happened prior, that
Mhm.
may have been a catastrophe. You couldn't
Yeah.
have spent the time. Elaborate just a little more of what that really meant to you when that happened, and because of RevShare, it literally has changed your life and the
Yeah,
amount of time.
absolutely. Yeah, it would have been a catastrophe. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what it would look like, but I feel very steadfast in the fact that we were able to be present with our son at that time. Not only as his advocate when the entire time he was in the hospital, he couldn't advocate for himself. Even when he woke up from the coma, he was not talking. He had to relearn to walk, talk, speak, drink, eat, all the things. And even when we brought him home, he was still at a pretty low level of consciousness in terms of being able to make decisions for himself. And that was, many, many months later. And so, had we not been able to put our full presence, and I do believe, and research and just every ounce of our time into figuring out what we were going to do to help Carson have a chance at, a good quality of life, it would have been very, very, very difficult. I was not in a state to do much. research, as I probably don't have to tell you why. Obviously, I was in a pretty big state of shock, although I have a very, very strong faith. And I did believe very quickly after the accident that if God had saved him from an accident that was pretty impossible to live through, that he would have a purpose. And I believe that that is very, very true today. So I felt somewhat of a peace that wouldn't make any sense when you're going through a situation like that with a child. At the same time, there was a lot to be done to make sure that he was cared for correctly. And so we spent the majority of our time in a hospital for those months. Yes, he was in ICU for 3 months. He was not awake. He slowly started to wake up from his coma in the 4th month. And so he was moved to a different floor, which meant more advocation. Actually, the ICU is a much safer place for him. And then he had to go temporarily into a long-term care facility while we were waiting for a medical flight to get him to Salt Lake City, Utah, where we went to an inpatient therapy for another 2 months where he learned everything again so that we could bring him home. And so he is our youngest son. And so, we didn't have any other children at home, thankfully. But revenue share not only brought in the income, it brought a 6-figure income to us. So we didn't have to worry about our basic bills. But also it brought us a tremendous amount of agents who we have just a really, really solid relationship with, that were able to take over the things that we needed them to take over in the business that my husband had going, the opportunities that were coming that, we weren't taking, that were helping each other, through this time, because my husband and I do take revenue share, very seriously. And we do show up every single day for our agents, both locally and across the country. Locally, we're in a co-working space that you mentioned, and a lot of our agents are in and out. So we see them in person a lot. And so in our absence for that period of time, things were probably very, very different for them and for us, obviously, but they were very, very gracious. And not only did they do a lot of things for us personally, but they helped to keep things going professionally for us. And it was just a huge, huge blessing. No other company that we've been part of, or no other situation that we have had in real estate, would have brought us that same outcome. And we would have had to choose between income and spending time and being there for our son. And that would have been a treacherous situation. So we're very, very grateful. And then of course it was a slow entry back into work after something traumatic like that. So even though we were home, it didn't mean that we were just jumping right back into work. Emotionally and mentally, we weren't really ready for that, but also just getting back to just a new reality and a new schedule at home with my son. So I took over full-time caregiving of him. So I did start to help and work as I could, but we were going to about 6 therapies a week when we first got back. So that was about another 6 months of that. And then really, as that started to subside a little bit, he started to become a little bit more independent and able to go places. I took him with me to meetings, and he's become fast friends with all of our agents and things of that nature. But it's all a progression, and it's going to be a long road. So we had our regional rally. My husband and I hosted a regional rally up here in March in North Idaho. And we had a lot of people travel from around the country, and it was a big undertaking. And people were like, oh my gosh, why did you, do that so soon after everything? It wasn't so soon. It was, and it wasn't. It was a little over a year later. His accident was in January. This was in March of the following year. But one of it was really just to be able to give back to the agents who had supported us so much during that time, to be able to bring, some of our leaders, and to just have a really great training and opportunity. We had just phenomenal people come from all over the country. Relationships I've made inside of, myself doing calls like this for the first 3 years I was at EXP, that I opened up to anybody and everybody. And so it was just really cool to see the fruits of one's labor kind of come to fruition. And just also, the seeds that you plant and the relationships that you make will come back around in different ways that can help you and the others that you're in business with. And this company is full of that. I mean, we've experienced that so much, and it's just truly a blessing to be at this company. We couldn't imagine, being in a company that wasn't agent owned like this at this point. It doesn't even make any sense to us why anybody wants to, but of course we're all at different places at different times in their life. So, now we're really, really passionate about helping people not have to chase every real estate transaction for their income. Yes, real estate investments are great. We all, many of us have those. in order to make the $200,000 plus income I make a year, I'd have to have a lot of investment properties. And I would have had to invest a lot of money to get those investment properties. And, what we built has just truly been relationship building and my time, which is very important. And also this is very flexible. So, we were preparing for retirement, which is, and slowing down our business, which is why the last 5 years we've worked the way we have. That obviously turned out a little bit different. My retirement isn't quite here. Instead, I'm caregiving for my youngest son, but God has a plan for that. And we knew for a reason we were supposed to come when we did. It's just really interesting to realize what that reason was. We didn't know this 5 years ago, but there was a really definitive moment when I felt that we were supposed to come to EXP. It was, in my opinion, the Lord telling me, you need to go do this now in preparation for what is to come. I didn't know it then. I do know it now. And so I just tell people, no one knows when they're going to have something happen in their life when they can't or shouldn't or don't want to spend their focus on the day-to-day business. And I think that, every top producer, no one's immune to this, because top producers always say, I don't need to worry about that. I make enough money in real estate sales until you can't sell anymore, or you can't sell temporarily. So that's our story as of late that I didn't put in that bio because I haven't updated it, honestly, since then. It hasn't been a priority. You can tell there's only certain things I've been focusing on, but I've been super, super grateful for the opportunity to talk about it, because I think that, it was easy for me to talk about this before because I've done this, and I can tell you I'm making, 20 times the amount of money that I made at a different company when I built their business for them. And I recruited 100 agents a year. I'm literally making so much more money, and it's exciting to talk about that. But I think it's a little bit different when we start talking about how it really can affect our lives and our families' lives. And truly, this will be something that we then pass down to all of our children, and it will be a blessing. And I think about that for Carson because, I'm sure there's going to be lingering things for him at this level of a brain injury. And to be able to know that he can have some of that income coming into him when we're no longer here is even a different feeling than I already felt about it when I thought, okay, our 4 boys are going to get some of this when we are no longer with them. Today, that is a very different meaning to me. So
it's just not to continue down that path, but just a little further, for all of us to think about, it may not be your child, it could be you, right? Maybe you have an accident or maybe you some disease, God forbid, none of that happens to any of us, but you just don't know if it will. And at some point in time, it may happen to somebody in our families. And to think that you can just drop, not get the word at all. I used to, back before coming to XP, just funerals and weddings. I couldn't go to all of them. And I remember it would frustrate me. I just couldn't take off work long enough, or I didn't have the income coming in. And now any of that, I don't miss anything. Our entire family, both sides, every wedding, every funeral, whatever, we're at all of them. Don't even have to give it a second thought. That's been life changing. I almost say take for granted, but I've been here now almost 9 years, and I've had that ability for about 7.5. So it's, yeah, unbelievably life changing. So let
Sean,
me ask you this.
if
Yeah.
if I could jump in for a quick minute.
Oh, please go ahead.
Keri, you have opened the door to members of this community who are part of what I might call a special club. You'll understand what I mean in a moment. September 24th, 1999, I was airlifted to a Trauma One unit. I spent the next month and a half in an induced coma for a traumatic brain injury.
Wow.
And the reason that I share that with Keri specifically is I spent the next, realistically, the next 10 years of my life rebuilding the cognitive function, and she understands exactly what I'm talking about. And I share that with her and the community that you are hosting here, Sean, because it is remarkable what the relationships that you build over these times in our lives translate. I'm here at EXP because of a relationship that I made with an agent who's now at EXP 25 years ago while I was in the restaurant business, hosting a coffee shop and a restaurant, the details of which don't matter, but that relationship has lasted 25 years. And now, as a married man with a family and a business and a very successful life, I came out of a situation that may not be as severe as Carson's, But I offer this to Keri. There is a big, long future that I'm an example of, that you can hear a little bit of the emotion in my voice, because it's very, 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 very real to say the very, very least. And there is progress. There is a future. There is so much in front of. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
We know this is going to be a marathon, and I appreciate you saying that. And
Yeah.
that's why revenue share is so important to us, because we're only 19 months into this journey, which could be a
Infancy.
decade long at least.
Yeah. Yeah. They say 2 years when I know that they told you about 2 years. 2 years is nothing. I had what my friends call the 1,000-mile stare for at least 2 years. And then I started to wake up, it's, yeah. It's, and what is, it's a journey, but it's a remarkable one, as you know, and there is so much. The plasticity of the brain rocks.
Well, I know, and it's so awesome. Well, I'm so happy that you shared that and that you're here, because any of those, glimmers of hope, the more I hear that, the better off I feel. I
Yeah.
know it to be true, but sometimes we all need a little bit of that hope, because
It's a long, yeah.
it's a long journey. Yeah. And, it reminds me of business, because, and neuroplasticity. So what's interesting about this, and I'm a believer, and I think sometimes the Lord has a good sense of humor. I spent when you asked me about holistic coaching, let's go to that. So, I talked a lot about holistic, just meaning we're going to coach to everything in your life. We're going to coach to business. We're going to coach to your mindset. We're going to coach to your health. We're going to coach to your relationships. As I became a bit more bold in my faith, I said, we're going to coach to your faith, whatever that is. But here's what I believe. But I believe you have to believe in something bigger than yourself if you really want to, have a purpose and figure out what your purpose is. And it's just what I believed. And so people that began coaching with me coached with me because they wanted to talk about all of those things. And this is many years ago. This was probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago, actually, at this time. And so I was in a state of transition. I was getting a divorce after a pretty rough, longstanding marriage. I needed to figure out what I was going to do. I was a top producing agent. I had 2 boys, one in junior high, one in high school, or one entering each of those. And anyways, I had a chance to go into leadership at a Keller Williams office. And I built that office to the #1 office in the entire state of Minnesota after a period of time, not because I was that good at it, but because I got really, really focused on a lot of the coaching that they had. And at that time, when Keller Williams was first kind of beginning, they had some phenomenal coaching. A lot of it was mindset stuff that most real estate agents had never, seen before. And the interesting thing about all of this was I got really, really into mindset and changing your brain and the neuroplasticity of it and reprogramming. And there was some hot buttons in coaching at that time, but I was extremely, extremely interested in it. I also had a son at the time, my oldest son, who has struggled a lot with anxiety and some OCD. And so I was really interested just in the brain in general for a whole bunch of reasons. And also for my own, because I knew that I had kind of created the life that I was living in at the time that I was also transitioning out of. And I was just really fascinated with what we do and what we don't do as humans, and how that plays into entrepreneurship, because however we grow ourselves as a human being is going to directly reflect our business, because we are the business as human beings, particularly in real estate and even as the leader. But for entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, like many of us are in real estate, our business can't grow to the extent that we do. And so I really started to get into that. Much of it was a little bit more, I would say, just on the psychological side of things and the neuroplasticity side of things. And then as I went through my transition, I kind of came a little bit stronger into my faith. I then met a couple years later, my now husband, who really brought me closer to Jesus, all in preparation, I believe, for what we're going through today. And the long of the short is, it's been really fascinating for me, because the 10 years plus that I spent coaching people on how to train their brain, how to refocus, how to do all of those things, has come full circle in my son literally having to relearn everything and not really retrain his brain, but to really rebuild everything that he knew before. The most fascinating thing about that is that, you know, we've watched in real life what he focuses on to become his reality, and how what he believes is what he does. And so it has been just a blessing for me to live through it in that manner. But I've also really taken a lot of that teaching into biblical principles, because I'm really fascinated with how the Lord made our brain and why it is the way it is. And there's a lot of Bible verses that point us in that direction. So I've come full circle in a lot of ways. All of it is pretty much the same, just maybe through a little bit of a different lens. But I can't look at it through any other lens, because if I had enough time to tell the entire story and the way that Jesus showed up in multiple times through it, people would think I was crazy talking about that many stories. And also at the same time, if you know that I'm not lying, it would be really hard for you to turn away and believe something different. So my son, with our help, wrote a really short ebook for two reasons. Number one, because, and Dana can probably attest to this, there's not a lot of medical help when it comes to traumatic brain injury. After our son was out of the coma, the neurologist basically said they hoped that they'd never see us again, which was a really scary thing as a parent, because I thought, oh, wouldn't we want to do some checkups and make sure things are healing okay? That doesn't seem to make sense to me. And they said, no, because you'll only come here if there's problems. You just go home and wait. You just go home and wait and see what happens. I'll let the brain heal. That answer wasn't sufficient for me, because I don't go anywhere and just wait. I get into action and figure out how I can solve problems and how I can get better. And so does my husband. So thank goodness our son has us for parents, because we spent the months and months and months researching, and we have found the most amazing practitioners, the most amazing resources, supplements, food, diet, red light therapy. If you want to know anything about anything in the brain, we've researched it. We've not necessarily tried it all. We've been very prayerful through it, but a lot of the things have helped our son get to a point where he walks to get his own coffee. He goes to lunch with his friends, and he had what the highest level of brain injury that you could have, where they were talking to us about putting him in a long-term care facility, and he'd never be able to talk again. And this is inside a 2-year period. So we know that there's hope for people who have brain injuries. We also are in a lot of communities where people feel there's absolutely no hope and they get no direction. And when people are by themselves and they're suffering a brain injury and trying to figure this out, I can't even imagine, because our son certainly wouldn't be able to figure any of this out by himself at this point. And probably it'll be years before he can. So with all of that, we put together a book for resources for people, but we also put together a book for hope, because we do believe God's been in this story before the accident, and he's been through it all the way through. So our son will hopefully get to a point where he's talking more about it himself. He's starting to. But you know, it's just exciting to meet people like Dana. It's exciting because A, there's hope, and B, if any of you are sitting in a state where you're like, you know what, I feel like my mind sabotages me because I know what to do, but I just don't do it. Dana is a living example, and my son is a living example that God made our brain in a way that we can change it anytime we want to. There are some things we have to do, but it's possible. And you know, our brain, in my opinion, what I used to tell people 15 years ago, your brain is not your friend. It doesn't tell you the truth. 90% of your thoughts are lies. Don't listen to it. It's trying to keep you safe. And what it doesn't realize is the things it's telling you to keep you safe is sabotaging your success. It's sabotaging your happiness, your life. If my brain would have if I would have listened to my brain when I thought about coming to EXP, I wouldn't be here. If I would have listened to my brain, you know, every time I was going to pick up the call and talk to one of my friends in real estate to see if they'd hear me out about EXP, I wouldn't have 420 agents, because I didn't want to do any of those things. And my brain told me all the reasons I shouldn't, because it was trying to keep me emotionally safe. But there's no joy, there's no fulfillment, and there's no progress in emotional safety. We have the capacity to get past an uncomfortable feeling if we push ourselves past it, but oftentimes our brain tells us differently. So I'm really passionate about this. I tell Carson all the time, the lessons that you're going through and that I'm even learning again through you are all lessons I can bring to every single person in my life and business, because you know, these are resiliency and consistency and tiny steps forward every single day over time. And, retraining our brain by filling it with the right things consistently. Like these are all things, all of us, including myself, and I have been just blessed to be around Carson to watch him do it, which inspires me to do it even more through this time, because I could have went really sideways during this. This was a very traumatic event for, my husband and I, but we didn't, because we followed his lead of just being really steadfast and really consistent in our activities and in our faith. And so, I talk about the faith muscle all the time in business. And I talked about this prior to really being, I think, even at the level of relationship with Jesus that I was back then. And what I meant by that then and what I mean by it now are just similar, just at a different level. But what I mean by that is, as entrepreneurs, we can't see the results that are to come. We only know that if we do things because we're told it, if we do things enough, that the results will come. But we live in a state of uncertainty most of the time. I'm living in that state. Dana lived in that state for 10 plus years. We're living in the state of uncertainty because nobody knows exactly what happens when you have a brain injury, because they tell you to go home and just wait and see. But you know that the brain has a tremendous amount of opportunity to heal, as does the body, and to reform new neurotransmitters, and to have neuroplasticity. At the same time, we know that our business has the capacity to grow. It has the capacity to change if we want it to, but we have to do the activities. If we don't do the activities, we will not get the results. So what I say to people when I say exercise your faith muscle is, you have to work on the activities and do them every day, even when you don't see a result, even in the uncertainty of what is the result going to be. Because if you don't do that and you don't work through faith, you'll never get to the end result, because the consistent activity is the only thing that gets us there. But most of us quit too soon because we don't see a result. So we have to focus on the activities, not the result. If my son focused on the result, he wouldn't do any of his daily activities. His results are very, very slow. They're extremely slow. They're so slow that you don't even notice them until, a few months later, and you look at a video and go, wow, you've had progress. And so when you're living in that slow of progress, and you still wake up every day with the desire to do the activity, because you know that it's coming, and it might come in 2 years, and it might come in 10, and it's okay. That is exercising your faith muscle. That is living 100% in faith that if I do the activities, something will come from it at the timing that it's supposed to come. And I do believe that in real estate. I believe that in entrepreneurship. And I think most often we're just not consistent enough in our activities. So when I coach people, Sean, I coach people to their activities, not their results. When we talk to people, we talk about the activities we did yesterday, the activities we did this week or this month. It doesn't matter about the result. It matters about, did you show up and do the things that you were going to do? Because I promise you, if you did, the result is coming. I can't tell you when, but it is. And you'll be really happy when it does. And if you stop the activities, the result won't come ever. And everything you've done up till now is not going to come to fruition. It's a hard concept. But if you focus on what is to come, and more so celebrate what you're doing, you'll get your fulfillment through the activities you do, not the results you get. And that's really, really important, is get the fulfillment through what you're doing on a daily basis, not what's coming from it. And it will keep you focused on moving forward.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So let's dig into the activities. Kelly even threw a question in there, and I'm curious as well. So she said, what distinct activities do you do right now in regards to agent attraction, whether that's on a daily or a weekly basis? What exactly do you or you and your husband do?
Yeah. So I will give you kind of a snapshot of what I've done. First and foremost, I'm a relationship builder. So I just go to the people that I have had a relationship with in business in some way, shape, or form. For me, it would be both, maybe doing transactions, and in my coaching, my husband, it is all transactional at this point. Just showing up for people and helping them for no reason. Not having an attachment to the outcome is one of my biggest, I think one of my biggest, I don't know what you want to call it. It's my strategies. It's really a strategy for me. It is, I'm going to show up and help somebody. And I've been like this my whole life. I've been a connector. I've been someone that they can just call and say, Keri, do you know somebody? And when they say, no, I'm not coming to EXP, they know that they can still call me and ask me if I know somebody. I'm not going to turn my back on them. I'm not upset that they're not coming to EXP right now. I make it very clear that that isn't going to affect our relationship. I will show up and help people, whether I get something back from it or not. They don't have to come to EXP for me to help them. And I think that living our life, and there's a good book about that, The Go-Giver. I kind of just feel like I've been blessed with being that person. I think that I was just born that person, and God gave me that insight and just that personality. And I'm really grateful for it because it served me very well. Other people maybe don't naturally do that, but that book is very, very helpful to understand. If you come from a place of giving, you will always get. And so most of my career, that's what that has been. And when I started with EXP, it was what it was. I don't feel uncomfortable calling somebody and asking them, because hopefully I've shown up for them in some way, shape, or form. Hopefully I've been valuable to them in their life at some point when they needed it, or just had a good relationship with them where I felt like I had enough rapport that I could just say, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's why I'm doing it. I just wanted you to know I'd love to be in business with you at some point. So if you're ever looking for a change, will you think of me? And if not, it's okay. We're still always going to be friends. But I would also be remiss not reaching out to you, because what if you were thinking about this and I didn't tell you, and we had the chance to work together? Or what if something in the future changes for you? And people really respect that. So my approach is more like that. That is how I started. And then I really just started a lot of just free coaching, free masterminds, just meetups. Gathering people has been always something that I've been good at. And it was very much in person for a while, and then virtual for a long time, because I had people from all over the country showing up. So I would bring in guest speakers, and I would, just like you, I would introduce new people to my people. They were not all with EXP. I got a lot of slack for that. I wasn't scared. I don't come from a scarcity mindset. I knew that if somebody wanted to leave me and go to them at a different company, then it's not about them. It would clearly be about me. What am I not doing? Or quite frankly, maybe they needed to meet that person. Maybe there was something that I was supposed to introduce them, and for their life, this was going to be a benefit. So I don't make it about me or get attached to that outcome. Instead, for about 3 years straight, every single week I had a guest on, and I met so many amazing people from both in and outside of EXP. And I did it inside the EXP Family Tree workplace group for a long time. That's where we were. And we had thousands of agents, and they're all with EXP, not all of them under myself or my business partner. And that's one of the reasons I joined him at EXP, is because he had a very similar thinking to me, which was just collaborative and not worrying about that, and not keeping things in a silo. So I brought a lot of value to people. I invited guests. I shared people's, abundance with each other. And then it just kind of grew locally. I did a lot of, meetups in person. I gained relationships. I got into the community. When we started our co-working space, I was able to meet more people. So a lot of it is just the consistency of showing up for people, the consistency to stay in relationship. I have cold called. I don't do it often. I definitely have. Right now I'm not, but I have, prior to the accident, I was doing quite a bit of social media. So I was meeting a lot of people through social media and through my webinars and, online meetups. And just, again, they're a long, I always say to people, it's kind of a long process. In my mind, I'm not ever expecting that I meet somebody today and that, like next month, they're going to be at EXP. I always have thought about this as a long-term process. And it's interesting because I do have patience like that. And I'm grateful because I think about my son and I'm like, okay, thankfully I'm not the most patient person every day. I'm definitely not a saint. I have to pray about that a lot. But what I mean by that is, like, I know things are coming, I know it. I have an innate knowing that the things happen in their right timing. And I have a lot of examples of, people who I met 2 and 3 years ago who just recently came. And it was the right timing for them. It would not have been the right timing before this. I have an example of this. I've been meeting with a woman here locally for 4.5 years for coffee. It started as a recruiting conversation. It became a friendship because after 4.5 years, how can it not be? After a while, I was like, we're not even talking about EXP. We're just going to do coffee. And then we just, started becoming friends. And I kind of let it go because I was like, she's just it's not in her wheelhouse right now. This is not what she wants to do. She's a single mom. She's a broker for a local brokerage. I can see opportunity for her. It's just not on her radar. It's okay. But she became a great friend. About a month and a half ago, she joined me at EXP because her company is actually going bankrupt. And in this time, because, also interestingly, she referred a large piece of business to my husband because she had this property listed. It was friends of hers. And her friend and her kind of had a little bit of a falling out over the business side of things. And she was going to lose the listing. And she called me and my husband, and she's like, I think I'm going to lose it anyways. I'd rather just give it to you. My husband said, well, you're not going to give it to me. Let me see if I can list it, and I'll share 50% of the commission back with you. And she's like, no, that's not. And he's like, absolutely. I wouldn't have this opportunity if it weren't for you. I actually think that she might have gotten 60%. I can't remember what they ended up negotiating. She wasn't happy about it, but it's just what my husband thought was the right thing to do. Also, right after that, then her business is, going bankrupt, and she no longer is going to have the role. That property closes, puts money in her bank so that she has a year in savings of her salary. Then now she's coming over, and she already has had, I think, 5 or 6 people follow her. We have, I think, 3 or 4 appointments this week. All
Nice.
because obviously they're in a state of, they have to make a decision, right? And she has a great reputation. So I think about that. 2 years ago, this would not have been that scenario. She would not have had the savings in the bank. She would not have had people automatically following her for revenue share, which is really important to her as a single mom. None of this would have happened. This would not have been the opportunity that she has for it to be today. So I'm a firm believer that things happen when they're supposed to, but we have to plant the seeds. We have to build the relationships. If we're not planting seeds and we're not building relationships, nothing can happen in timing that it's supposed to, right? So we've got to do the activities, but the less we worry about the result and the less we become attached to the outcome. I truly believe that we come from a place of abundance. We come from a place of openness. We come from a place of, we don't feel threatening. We're not holding on to this outcome, and people can sense that energy. And so I feel like a lot of my success has just truly been talk to as many people as possible. The Lord's going to provide. They're going to come when they're going to come. And I'm going to be grateful at all the times that they come. And if they come at the right time, it's probably going to be a better situation anyway. And so I just need to get up and focus on my activities. So my activities have been social media. My activities have been, getting into personal relationship with the people who have met me on social, because as we all know, social media is great, but if we don't really know each other, I don't know, are they going to come to EXP with me if they don't know me? Some people will, but I'm not a big fan of that because I want to know them too. So I reach out to people and say, hey, I see we're connected on social media. I'd just like to get to know you. Could we just do a Zoom call? It's not about coming to EXP. It's about just knowing the people that are following me. Is there something of value I could provide to you? Maybe I should meet you for some reason. So I do a lot of that. So a lot of my conversations come from that, and then just different events that I've put on. And then of course, as my revenue share has grown, the majority of the work I do now are people that are under me that are bringing their friends to the company. So I'm blessed that I don't have to go out and do other things. So I spend the majority of my time doing those appointments with my business partners. I do co-sponsorship now with people who feel like I'm aligned with them as well. So I work with them on co-sponsorship and help them get their friends over. And it's a huge win-win for many of us if it helps people to come to the company. And I do all the onboarding. I kind of do hand holding. This is ingrained in me being a team leader of a large Keller Williams office. The onboarding to me is one of the most important things. And our company has done a phenomenal job in the last 4.5 years of really improving that. But what I find in the coaching side of things is onboarding is great. They can just go through the motions and they can onboard to the technology. But for me, it solidifies when it's a conversation around what's most important to them in their business and their life. What are you needing to focus on? What are you trying to grow? What do you want to get better at? How can this company help you? Then I can point them in the right directions of the things that actually matter to them. And the other things they don't have to spend time on. We don't need to take advantage of everything at EXP. If we did, we wouldn't be able to get away from our computer. So we need to be really focused on the things that are the most important now. So for me, when I say I help with onboarding, it's not that I'm necessarily sitting and doing every little thing, although I do make sure that they do the basics of getting their CRM set up and things of that nature. It's more so about, okay, now that you're with us, how can we make this the best environment for you? How can we help you take advantage of what this company truly has to offer? And hopefully, if part of their plan is retirement, part of their plan is passive income, then I can also talk to them a little bit about that. Not everybody's there right away, though. There's plenty of people that come here and they do not want to talk about that right now. And that's okay. But they do know, hey, if somebody reaches out to you, because it could happen, and they want to know about EXP, just send them to me. Don't ignore them. Don't, because that actually happens. Don't forget about the text. Just make the connection. I will help them. Because look, if you have one person come in there, Capper, you're going to make $4,000 this year. That would be cool. Let's put that $4,000 back into growing your business. Let's get some leads going. Let's do some marketing. Let's do something with the money that the company is willing to pay you. So don't leave it go. You don't have to focus on it, because I'm a partner of yours. I'll help you. And so a lot of that has become what I do today. And to be honest with you, that's kind of all I've been focusing on since my son's accident. I definitely am still reaching out to people, but I'm still at only probably about 25 hours a week, because he still has quite a few therapies per week. And I'm trying to be present with him as much as possible, because I believe that's important. I'll caveat that with, because I'm a transformed workaholic. When my children were young, I did not have that time with them. And so I believe in some ways the Lord is giving me a second shot at that. I'm probably more emotional about that than anything, because, although I didn't live with regret, I did live with regret, so you still feel like, oh, I wish I had more time in those moments. So now I am able to, and so I'm doing that. And so, so 3 things that have worked for me have been social media, my relationships, and the relationships with others. I get a lot of referrals from other business owners too. So who do you know in different industries that know realtors, throughout the country? I've had huge relationships with, I've actually had referrals from, other broker owners that say, oh, we don't really help new agents. So I'm going to send them to you, Keri, because you do a great job. So just building relationships with all different kinds of people and letting them know what I do and who I do it for. And it's kind of like just building the biggest network I possibly can around me, and just not letting people forget what I do. I just had a referral of an agent from a woman who I went to college with. I'm turning 50 in August. And so, how long ago it's been that I've been in college. I haven't talked to her since about 3 years from college, and we're friends on Facebook, but we all know what that means. I don't even know if I've seen anything about her on Facebook for a long time. I think she followed my journey a little bit with my son here and there, but we have not talked. And about 2 months ago, she sent me a message and said, I gotta introduce you to this young man who's in real estate. Here's a story. I don't know why, but I just think you're supposed to talk to him. And he's at EXP with me now. So, and I'm personally coaching him. And I do believe that was, there was a reason that he and I were connected. But these are just because I'm not quiet about what I do, because I'm bold about who I am. You guys have to just be out there, like telling your story. Like, how has EXP or just being at an agent-owned company in general helped you? How has this community helped you? How have your relationships helped? What is it that you are getting and growing through, and who are you becoming because you maybe decided to go from this company to this company, and we all have our own story. Some might seem more profound than others, but prior to my son's accident, I didn't have anything real profound other than I decided I wasn't going to work for somebody else and I was going to try to work for myself and get some time back. But I did have some really awesome opportunities and interactions and people I got to be in business with. And, all of those things mattered. And so I've just not been shy about sharing and being authentically who I am. And I think that attracts a lot of people. So consistency of videos, consistency of posts, consistencies of activities every week for 3 years straight, doing a call, like that's consistency. And I think consistency of action is the number one thing I can say to you. The other thing is I did do coaching. I did paid coaching. And so mentorship could be another option if you're in production, to really just get out there and meet new people and have an opportunity to support them in a way outside of EXP to build that relationship and then bring them over to EXP has been something that has worked really well for me. I have a lot of people that say, but I'm not a coach, Keri. But the thing is that anybody can be a coach. I mean, you can be a mentor. Are you a good agent? Do you have something in your business that you're really good at? Do you have a niche that you have mastered? Go out there and talk to people about that. Teach them how to do that without expectation. You can charge for it. I did. I had to make a living when I first came to EXP because I let go of a 6-figure income because I felt that convicted to come to EXP and leave my last position. So I had to replace my income as quickly as possible. So people paid me to coach them. You can get paid to coach, to mentor, to help. And now fast forward, this was almost 5 years ago. You can do it through digital products. I'm helping people to actually put their knowledge on paper, and they're selling it, and they're actually getting paid to collect leads of other real estate professionals that they can then call and say, hey, can I help you? And give them a free session, answer some questions, build a relationship, get in front of them on social media. So what is it that you have to offer? And we all have something personally and professionally to offer to others. And I think that is the biggest place that you can start. And then be a good producer, be a good agent. Anybody who's a good agent, everybody who's a good co-op agent, people appreciate that more than you know. And I think it opens the door to opportunity if we're not afraid to start it.
Yeah. We got a couple questions in here. I want to mention this to you guys because I was on a call last week, just for everybody to know. We got Fast Cap and Fast Attract. Fast Attract, they're expanding it and they're going to be adding different things, kind of like what we're talking about right now. Everybody's personality is different on what you might want to do to attract that's comfortable with you. So everything that Keri's kind of mentioned, from social media, maybe the other side of a transaction, events, cold calling, relationships, they're going to be making specific trainings, like 15-minute training videos on, if you just want to do social media, here's the best ones in the company. Here's what they've done. If you want to do it the relationships, here's the best in the company. Here's it. So in other words, just it's going to come very soon, in the next 30, 60 days. You'll be able to go on to EXP and pick which one fits with you, and then somebody's going to teach that's really good at that particular area. So anyway, just want to touch on that. That's coming. A couple questions, Keri, that are in the chat. And I was going to ask the same question. Leanne asked, did you state you have a book, a TBI, an ebook? Where can we get that? Because again, guys, my son had a TBI as well, for been dealing with it for about 9, 10 years. But where is that book? And
I
how
just
do
put the
we?
link for you.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you guys. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. And there's a couple other questions in here.
Yes.
Kathy,
So
yeah, go ahead.
did you build primarily in your local market? Okay. That's a good question. No, actually, interestingly, I moved away from my hometown where I'd been selling real estate and building the brokerage. Because after I met my second husband, he lived in North Idaho. I'm from Minnesota. And we actually met at a real estate event 10 years ago. And there's so much that I could say about all this, but the long and the short is I met him. I had gone through a divorce a year or so prior. He also had, after my marriage was about, I think 15 years, his was over 20. And both had two boys and both in real estate. And anyways, we did not want to meet anybody. Neither of us were in that mindset at all. We were like, oh, we're free. Like, let's be single for a while and just like, get our bearings back after something like that. But the Lord had different plans. And so, but that first year we stayed in touch a little bit more professionally than personally, but at the end of that year, we ended up having a long distance relationship, and a year later we were married. And so he ended up coming to Minnesota back and forth for about 4 years because I had the youngest son, Carson. He was in middle school and we did not want to move him. And, obviously not move him away from his dad or anything like that. So we were just navigating and figuring out how to do that. My husband had older boys that were already in college. So he was going back and forth. Carson actually was the impetus for us moving to North Idaho, because during COVID, we actually were coming back and forth more frequently because he was doing online school. So we were going back and forth, and he came to us and said, I want to go to school in Coeur d'Alene. I feel like that's where I'm supposed to be. I need a fresh start. And we said, Carson, that's not going to be, you're going to starting high school, not having any friends. We don't think that's the best choice. We did everything to talk him out of it. And he was very, very convicted and said, no, this is where I need to go. And so we all gathered together as family with his dad and everybody. And everybody was like, we don't know why he wants to do this so bad, but we're not going to be the one that stands in the way. So the long and the short is we ended up moving out here in 2020. And so I've been here for almost 6 years now. So I left, and a year later, I joined EXP. So I had moved away from where all of my relationships were, and I wasn't interacting with them as much. So it's a really interesting thing. So I really had to just open up my relationships anywhere. And the coolest part about it all is that at EXP, we can do that. We have no geographical limitations. So I had been coaching people throughout the country. I'd met people in my time with Keller Williams throughout the country. I had referral partners. So I just started with just anybody who I knew in real estate anywhere. And some of my first people were not in either state, not the one I lived in and not the one that I started my real estate business in, interestingly. And maybe that was the easier route. I don't know, maybe it was easier for me to reach out to those people. What was really fascinating is my husband had a lot of experience here as a top producer, but no one knew me in my market that I live in now. And so I had to get completely engaged in this market. I'd never sold in this market. I still have never sold in this market. And so I had to bring together people that didn't even know who I was, that I had no relationship with, but they knew my husband. So there was a little bit of probably a trust factor there, but also probably not, because they're like, who are you and where are you from? And you don't even sell and you're a coach and I don't get it. And so I had a little bit of that to overcome. And so it was really just my consistency of showing up, getting in the community, getting in the real estate community, and doing regular meetups. And we didn't have a space when I first moved here. So I was using title company spaces, the Builders Association spaces. I was using restaurants. And so I was really having to get out there and get creative. I did not have the relationships with, sponsors. So I had to build all of those. So there was definitely a process. Now, if you look at our revenue share today of 420 agents, about 180 of those or so are local. So I'd say almost 50% are local and 50% are national, which is kind of interesting. Some people say it's hard to recruit people who are not local to you. I will completely debunk that myth. I think there is absolutely nothing difficult about that. What I will tell you, though, is there are some things that I've learned because our retention has been really high. I think the biggest thing is when they're not local, what people mean by it's hard is that you don't have, you're not sitting next to them. You can't, do things with them. You don't know the people in their local market like you know the people in your local market to get them, ingrained with. So I've been very purposeful about meeting people in the markets that I have somebody that's going to join EXP, talking to some of the top producers, asking my sponsor, who do we know in that market? I also will find them a mentor if they're a newer agent. I will interview mentors with them and for them. I will go into the broker room and I will talk to the brokers and I will bring them in and I will get them engaged. So I go a little bit above and beyond because it's not hard to recruit them. I think it's hard to retain them outside of your local area if you don't go above and beyond to do this, because they might come in and feel like an island on their own. And if they only have you via Zoom or phone, there could be a gap there. So if anybody has any questions on how to do that, that's something that I've gotten very good at because I'm a little worried about that. And so I go above and beyond probably more than I even need to, but it has really helped a lot. The platform, Facebook's been my platform because I'm old. I just gotta tell you, I've been on Facebook forever and everybody knows me on Facebook. So it's my go-to. I kind of dabbled a little bit in Instagram and TikTok for a bit, but then I went after the accident. I just have not gotten back into video. I haven't been able to get myself back into it for some reason. I'm kind of just assuming that that's just because I'm not supposed to right now. And beyond that, to be honest with you, I'm not that great at a CRM. I'm not going to tell you like I've got all these systems in place because I don't. And the cool thing is I still have 400 people. So I use my email and I use my text messages and I put folders in my email for all my prospects. And I go check in there once a month and I respond to people and say, hey, I haven't talked to you for a while. I use my DMs and Facebook. These are pretty simple systems for me. If I get too worked up into a system and I have to learn something and try to use it, it's not that I can't do it. I find that it gets me off of my consistent activities. And sometimes it's just not worth it because I'm just so consistent in the things I'm doing. Could I have more people? Probably. Honestly, if I had some systems, I'd probably have more people, but I'm content with the growth that I'm having because I just feel like it's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I'm not somebody that has to have the next shiny object or, I'm also used to be more like that. And I feel like not only the experiences of my life, but my age and just all the things I've gone through, I can settle in and be a little bit content with like, I'm doing what I'm doing. It's working. It doesn't have to happen. I don't have to have 1,000 people. I'm grateful for 400. I think anybody would be grateful for $200,000 coming into their bank account without, having to sell a house. I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing and look for the people that I'm supposed to be in business with. I don't need to be in business with everybody. And I'm very clear on that. If I had 1,000 people, I'd have a lot of people that I couldn't service. I probably have a lot of people I didn't know. I'd probably have a lot more issues with retention. And ultimately, I'll get there in the timing. But for me, if I bring 100 people a year, which is about what it is, or a little bit less, I actually have interaction with those 100 people. I mean, I actually meet all of them at some point. And for me, that's where I want to be right now because I feel like that's where I'm having an opportunity to impact others. And for me, impact is just as important as success. If I'm just doing it just to do it and I'm not feeling like I'm helping anybody and I'm not having an impact, I'm really not, quite frankly, that happy. So this is just what works for me, but there are probably things that I could
Yeah.
definitely do better.
Yeah. There are a couple things that are, and we all talk about it all the time, but not chasing shiny objects. But that's interesting, even about social media. We can all
Yeah.
get spread too thin, where find something that you're good at, you're comfortable with, and just get really, really
Just do
dialed in
it.
on that one specific. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
top of the hour. If you answer maybe one more question, Kelly jumped, but I'll let her know it's
Yeah.
here in the recording. That last question she said, and I'm the same thing. We're always talking about our group. How do you get some of the agents, or even on here? Do you do anything to try to inspire, cast vision? What do you do with some of those agents that we'd love to help, right? We want them to engage.
Yeah. I just tell them, you don't have to have 1,000 people to make good money because I'm a living example of that. I think a lot of people think it has to get so big to really make a difference that it's almost like I'm just going to focus on what I'm focusing on.
Hmm.
Um, if we all made $2,000 extra a month, I mean, that makes a difference in most people's lives. It could be their mortgage, $3,000. I mean, it could be their main bills. And so I think it's just about asking questions. Do you have something if you couldn't show up and work? And if you don't, can I help you build something that's just reasonable? And you don't even have to really do much. I'll help you. But you have relationships. Don't be shy to just talk about it. Don't be shy to be open to it. Don't ignore the people that might be giving you hints and you're just like, I don't want to go in that. So it's a little bit about just giving them confidence that number one, it doesn't have to be a full-time job. Number two, it doesn't have to be a lot of people. It can just be your friends, people that trust you, know you, and like you. It can also be slow. This doesn't have to happen overnight. This can happen in 10 years. And I show numbers. So I don't know if you guys know this, but I'll end. Can I share my screen? I'll end the call with this really quick because a lot of people don't know this. You guys might because you've got Sean and he's probably showing you all the tools. But one thing that I just do with people is I just share the new growth calculator with them and I do it with them. Do you know what I'm talking about, Sean?
Yeah, I do. I do bring it
Have
up
you
to a lot
shown
of
it
the
to this
folks.
group? I don't have to show it if they've seen it.
No, no, no. I haven't shown it
Okay.
to them in a long time.
So I just like to share the new growth calculator, which comes from the toolkit, which is the growth toolkit. And when you scroll down, you'll get to the calculator. But I just did this with somebody the other day because they are bringing a gentleman over who has been a top producer for 40 years in his market and has an opportunity to bring quite a few people and is just trying to figure out, well, what would this look like for me? He's also, by the way, would love to retire and hasn't yet. And so, you just plug in your average sell price, your commission. How many homes do you think an agent that you're going to bring over is going to do? And I go very conservative, one every other month. This is a capper in this instance. If your average sell price was a lot less, it would quite be a capper maybe. So you could decide what you wanted to do there. But he's very likely going to bring over 10 people and would like to do that for a couple of years because he's been in the business for 40 years. He's a top producer at a brokerage that's quite large and he believes that he could do that. And so we just fill in the blanks here. So in year one, he'll bring 10. The next year, he'll bring 10. Actually, the next year I said he'll only bring 5 because I want it to be very conservative. I do not like painting blue sky. I want this to be very, very conservative.
Hmm.
And then those people bring a couple people. And then I'm like, I don't think the rest aren't bringing anybody. So this is a 2-year plan. And it shows about a $60,000 income in a 2-year plan if he consistently did this. And this is because remember, in your first year, you get 50% of the revenue share. So if these are all cappers, that's $40,000 just with 10 cappers in the first year. And the next year it's another 20. And then it starts to build from there. This is an actual business plan that you can work around. And some people don't realize you can put a business plan around revenue share just like you can anything else. And so this is just an example, but I do this very conservatively with a lot of my people.
Hmm.
And I just plug and play this and then we copy and paste it and I send it to them in an email and I say, print it and just put it up somewhere. Because the reality is that again, if you're happy with 20,000 or 30,000 or 25,000 or just getting your $16,000 back, if you're not an icon agent, this is not something that everybody can do that. This is not something that you can't do. And if you've got just some inspiration and some focus around it, you put your thing up there and you just remind yourself, I just want to find 5 people this year. Remember, your brain will take you where you want it to take you. So what you fill it with, it's going to go look for more of. So fill it with something that is a goal. And I think a lot of times the problem is we just don't have a goal around this. Yeah, we feel like we have to have a passion around it. But the reality is, what if it was just a goal? Just like your real estate. I want to make X in real estate. Well, how much do you want to make in revenue share? And then let's try it. Let's see what happens. Let's just get out there and talk to a few people. So that it's really that simple. If somebody just says, I just don't have the bandwidth to think about that right now, then we're not going to think about it right now. It's just not on their radar. It's okay. But I think the biggest thing is also just giving yourselves permission to, to talk to somebody if they want to, and to bring it up occasionally when you think it's appropriate. And the last thing I'll say about it, if you don't love this company, then it's going to be hard to recruit to this company. And one of the first things I said to people is, when I came here, I had to figure out how to fall in love with this company before I could go talk to anybody else about it. So I did everything that I could inside of the company to learn, to go to meetings, to try all the technologies, to get in the groups, to meet new people, to go to the events, because how am I going to talk to somebody else if I don't even myself really realize what's here, or I don't take advantage of it? So my first step for the people that are with me is, what can you do to take advantage of what this company has to offer you so that you can confidently and honestly say to somebody, this company is really cool, and you don't have to know everything, but you do have to get engaged enough to know things. And if you don't know things, talk to people and ask them, how has this company helped you? What do you take advantage of? Learn from others. And then you go, oh, so a lot of times I'll talk to somebody and I'll say, hey, I know somebody who, I've got a friend who's been here for this long and they did this, and this is what's happened. I'm finding commonality because I'm not going to use everything in the company that somebody else might, but I can tell you that I probably know a story about everything in this company because I went out there and sought it out because I needed to know it in order to tell other people, and to inspire other people to get out there and get engaged so that they actually have a good experience. Our goal should be that people are here and having a better business or a better life, not just that they're here so we can make revenue share. And so if we come from a perspective that they're going to have a better business and a better life, then we have to know what can make that for them. So spend a little bit of time into the company, and I think that will help you a lot as well.
Just for you, Keri, and I'm sure if you know, maybe you've already done it, but we had you can either grab Brian Ellington and have them come speak to your group. We had them come in about 6 weeks ago and talk about everything EXP has. And it's like poof. I mean, a lot of my leaders, a lot of us didn't know all these things because it's like they said, every quarter minimum, something's being added to EXP. And most people just don't know because it can be overwhelming. So I love the idea also about when you're bringing them on board, have that session with them. What do they want to do? What's important to them? Where are they trying to go? And then try to pinpoint the things they need to focus on. Otherwise, it can be overwhelming. There's so much stuff we offer. But hey, thank you so
I'm
much
putting
for
my
your story.
contact information. If anybody wants to reach out, please do.
Perfect.
I'm always happy to chat. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Dana, great to meet you. Thank you for sharing with me what you did. And I did put Carson's ebook in. He would be really grateful. He's got a mission to help people try to pay for some of these things that we've had the benefit of paying for him, because most of the things he does is not covered by insurance. And so he's always really thinking like, whoa, I would not have any of this if you guys couldn't afford it. And most of the people out there who've gone through a TBI probably can't. And so the goal is, it's a really low priced ebook, but the goal is that if people buy it, then he's keeping it to help somebody to maybe go to one of his therapists or get a therapy session or buy a red light therapy helmet or whatever it might be. So that's what that's about. So thank you for just spreading the word on that. If you want to see a story and be inspired, it's all over my social media. You probably have to scroll down a little bit, but we put a video together. I feel like anybody who's in a funk in business can look at a situation like that and go, if somebody can overcome that, I can overcome this. We all need hope. And there's plenty of that out there. God is still in the business of doing miracles. If you need one, pray for it. I promise you, he is. And thanks for letting me be on, Sean. I really, really appreciate you.
Absolutely, Keri. Thank you so much. Do you want this video sent over? Or do you have more than you can even handle with so many videos?
Yeah, I'd love it.
Okay. Okay. Once I grab it, I will send it over. Thank you
Thank you.
again. Sincerely appreciate it. God bless you, your family, and I hope Carson continues to get better. Everybody, thank you so much. I know we got a big week. Who's on tomorrow? Quickly, Kathy. Who do we have for Tuesday? Any idea?
Nick, I believe.
Oh, first Tuesday. Yep. AI. You
First
want to get an
Tuesday,
AI
Nick
update
Cram,
with second Tuesday.
AI.
Okay. Yeah. Enjoy. All right, Keri. Appreciate it, dear. Have a wonderful week. Thank
Thank
you guys for
you.
jumping on, everybody.